I will say I LOL'd at the photo of Callum Turner walking behind her with his hand on her ass because I was like, yeah, I'd be doing that too. How's it going, and welcome back to another bonus episode of Mood for Feud. I'm your host Katya, and today I am in the mood for news. We are going to be covering trending topics from the last couple of weeks, and after covering the Quiet on Set documentary and all of the horrific and abusive stuff that was happening on set of our favorite Nickelodeon shows, I was really in the mood to keep things lighthearted this week. I want to bring some love and joy back into my life and into yours as well, and so for this week's bonus episode, I have challenged myself to exclusively be covering good news pop culture stories, which is kind of a lot trickier to do than you might think, but I've done my best, okay? So we're going to start off talking about Dua Lipa and Callum Turner officially tying the knot. Then we'll talk about why it's such a big week for Aotearoa New Zealand, because our very own footballer, soccer player, for those of you who are based in the US, has officially been named the main character of the 2026 FIFA World Cup. Then I want to talk about Hudson Williams and his absolutely iconic acceptance speech after winning the Canadian Screen Award for Best Lead Performer in a Drama Series. I have a couple of other positive news stories sprinkled throughout, and then instead of closing out with a personal feud in light of wanting to keep things positive, I have instead come up with a couple of personal faves, moments from the last week or so where I went, you know what, life is worth living. So I hope that this episode can kind of boost all of our moods and just, bring things back into the lighthearted realm. Remember, if you enjoy the show and would like to support it, then please do leave a rating. You can leave comments on Spotify, written reviews on Apple Podcast, and you can follow the show so you never miss an episode. I'm also on socials at Mood for Feud, and I'm always looking to chat pop culture, so send me a message there. Okay, let me start by first of all saying Happy Pride Month. Let me know if you get up to anything cool. I would love to hear all about it. I'm probably just going to do what I've done for the last couple of years, which is intentionally consume some cool queer media, whether that is art, poetry, film, TV, book, whatever, and then find a cool local cause to donate to. Actually, I did read a really cool book for book club. It was called Fruit Fly, and it's by Josh Silver, and this book was phenomenal. It is literary, but I feel like it's incredibly fast-paced. It was funny, it was really dark as well, though. I read the trigger warnings before you start, but it was just incredible. I really had such a fun time reading it. Yeah, I thought the balance of like darkness and humor was incredible. So check that out if you haven't read it already. Without further ado, happy Pride, and let's get into our good news stories. Okay, so let's start off with Callum Turner and Dua Lipa. These two are having the absolute time of their lives right now. They are on their 3-day wedding excursion at Villa Valguanera. I have not said that correctly. I'm so sorry. Which is in Sicily near Palermo. Think White Lotus season 2. It is definitely very like that kind of aesthetic. So of course, as you can imagine, the scenes are just absolutely spectacular. Now, Callum and Dua Lipa are technically already married. They had a very intimate ceremony in London, and it was more of a private thing. They had a couple of loved ones around them, but it was super intimate, super personal, and honestly, it sounded so lovely. And yeah, her dress for the London wedding was also just so chic and so beautiful. She had this great big sweeping hat on and like a tailored jacket, dress thing. I'm not a fashion girly, but it looked phenomenal. But after having a private ceremony, they are now in Palermo to do their star-studded event, their proper like, let's have a party, let's invite all of our famous friends. There's going to be photographers, videographers, the whole shebang. And to be honest, if I had infinite funds in my account, this is exactly what I would do. I would have the actual wedding be like a really intimate, closed space type thing. And then I would just have me and all my friends, and my husband, I guess, can be there. And we can all just have the most amazing party at a gorgeous location, yada yada. Now, as you can imagine, the entire thing is kind of locked down like like a maximum security prison. And it makes sense because obviously Dua Lipa and Callum Turner are famous themselves, but there's also a ton of A-list celebrity guests who are joining them to celebrate, including Mark Ronson, Charlie XCX and her husband George Daniel are there, Donatella Versace, Joe Alwyn, Troye Sivan. Like, there's a lot of famous people in one location so far, and we have started seeing some pictures rolling in from their social media accounts, and I will say it looks so fun. Like, I think the photos I've seen at time of recording are from the first day, which was like the welcome drinks event, I believe. God, I mean, they both look incredible, but she takes the cake. She's wearing this very cute, fun, low back white dress, and it's also textured, which I love. Like, I love that it's not like sheer fabric. It's got some tactility to it. I will say I LOL'd at the photo of Callum Turner, like walking behind her with his hand on her ass, because I was like, yeah, I'd be doing that too. If I was in your position. She looks amazing. The location looks amazing. I feel like they're all about to have the best time of their lives. Callum and Dua Lipa, like, they have had a pretty cute love story. I think they first started dating right at the start of 2024, and they even had like a little bit of a meet cute situation because they were both reading the same book, and I think it was Callum went up to her and was like, oh, I'm reading that too. And my God, what like a dream meet cute interaction, especially as a book girly. I'm like, that would absolutely have me swooning. And they've been dating ever since. They got engaged in 2025 and now they're having their wedding. I know we're keeping things positive. You guys are like, oh, first story and she's already breaking her challenge, her rule to only talk about nice things. Here's the thing though, I feel like we have to talk about the fact that there have been some mixed responses from locals in Sicily about this wedding. And, you know, like, to start with the positive, some locals are saying it's great, you know, there's this influx of money and really wealthy people, and it's a great economy boost for the town. Obviously the event requires a lot of staff and professionals, and they are hiring local people for things like that, and there's a famous Sicilian chef who's cooking them all their meals, so it is a good economy boost for the town. But other locals are rightfully upset at the fact that along with the tight security and the volume of famous guests arriving, there are public spaces that have been closed off for use by the general public. There's been road closures, there's even been certain piazza that have been reportedly closed, and it's just messing with people's everyday lives, you know, like they can no longer park where they normally park, they have to walk further to get back to their car, and it's disruptive. It's not even for local people to benefit, right? It's for outsiders, it's for foreigners. So I do kind of understand the contention from locals, and I get the other side of the argument too, right? That it is a good economy boost, but it would be nice if these types of events could happen without as much disruption to the people who live and work there. Yeah, so protesters have been putting up posters saying Palermo is not for rent, our square is not your living room, and Palermo is not for the rich. One local who spoke to a news outlet described feeling like their city is becoming a bit of a theme park, and I get it. You know, we had the Bezos wedding in Venice, which was even more controversial because, as we know, Venice is widely feeling the impacts of climate change and rising sea levels. And, you know, climate change, it's a global issue. We all contribute to the problem. We all have a responsibility in alleviating the problem. But let's be honest, the likes of billionaire Jeff Bezos running his big data centers for Amazon, putting Katy Perry in space, private jetting all across the globe. Billionaires as a whole, I would say, are amongst the biggest climate criminals and unfortunately don't have to deal with the impacts of climate change in the same way that people do. And I guess they are technically people too, but you know what I mean? Everyday people. And truly, they have such little regard and empathy for the general public as well. And, you know, I was pretty disgusted by his and Lauren's wedding in such a climatically vulnerable part of the world. And although I don't put Dua and Callum on that same kind of tier, I think there is still something unsettling about super wealthy people coming into these towns in Italy that are so beautiful, shutting down public spaces, disrupting way of life, enjoying for themselves all of the beauties of the city, the food, the scenery, the stunning buildings and then leaving, and everyone else is left to deal with the real world consequences of climate change and of unethical tourism. And I do of course understand that with A-list couples and, you know, an A-list guest list, security is of course a big priority. Like, you need to be able to keep yourself and your guests safe. But I don't know. I don't have the solution. I think it would be cool if there was a way for them to boost the economy, bring money to towns without all the bad stuff. Maybe have their festivities somewhere where there is enough space that they don't have to like disrupt people. And I will say I was also slightly surprised to see this type of wedding festivity from Dua, because she is one of those celebrities who advocates loudly about a bunch of social justice issues. She's probably been, in my opinion, one of the most vocal out of the A-list celebrities in particular when it comes to advocating for the rights of Palestine. She's incredibly well read. She has a book club that frequently spotlights authors or topics from underrepresented communities. She just seems less out of touch compared to the others. She seems to keep up with things. She's outspoken. She uses her platform for good. I know she does a lot in the social justice area. So like, I really can't fault her in terms of how much celebrities do. Like, the bar's pretty low and she's definitely hurdling above it. And that's why I think it is surprising to me that, yeah, they've opted for this Sicilian 3-day shut the town down type of wedding. And I guess it is complicated. Like, it's hard for an everyday person to be an ethical tourist these days. And I'm sure it's just even harder once you are an A-list celebrity and have that level of fame. And there are some reports saying that Dua has provided monetary compensation for residents who are impacted by this. This isn't verified, but you know, it's in her character, so I kind of do trust that that's maybe something that happened. But the way it's reported, it does seem like it was a little bit of an afterthought. Like, she saw all the protests and was like, oh shit, I better just give them some money. Anyway, I do want to keep things positive, and of course, you know, it is positive when two people are in love and they have amazing celebrations and boost the economy. But I think it's just important to highlight as well, you know, the reality of the situation for the people who are living in the area. Okay, next story, I want to talk about New Zealand footballer Tim Payne becoming the main character of the FIFA World Cup. And this is such a delightful internet story, because a lot of times people will use their social media influence and the internet for bad. And so when you see it being used for something positive, it's always just such a highlight. So here's what happened. Valen Scarsini, who is a content creator and streamer from Argentina, he goes by the name El Scarzo online. He has a huge following on social media platforms and quite a big influence, particularly in Argentina and surrounding countries. And he decided that he was going to take the least well-known player from the upcoming FIFA Football World Cup and enlist his huge following to basically make them the main character, right? And Argentina is, of course, world famous for its football talents, and they won the World Cup in 2022. So there is something kind of wholesome to me about a creator from this country going, you know what, we give enough attention and whatever to the usual stars, to the Messis, to the Ronaldos, what have you. Let's shine the light on someone who the world doesn't know about. And this is how he came to identify Tim Payne, a New Zealander who plays for the national men's football team known as the All Whites, which now as I'm saying it out loud, I'm realizing it sounds problematic. I promise you it's not. A lot of our sports teams are named after colours. Our rugby team is of course very famously called the All Blacks, which also causes some stirs overseas, I believe. But our national colours are black, white and red, and these are also the colours on Tino Rangatira flag, the Maori flag, and so a lot of our sports teams do include these colours in their names. I think my favourite, just while we're on this topic, is the men's basketball team, which is called the Tall Blacks. I just love that it's like kind of a play on All Blacks, but of course basketballers are all really tall anyway. And I think the WNBA team is called the Tall Ferns. So where was I going with this? Tim Payne. So Tim Payne plays for the All Whites, not problematic. I think before El Scarzo discovered him, he had like 4,700 followers on Instagram, which, don't get me wrong, that is a lot for me, right? Like, I would be so lucky. But I guess for a professional footballer, like, who's going to the World Cup, you might expect this number to be a little bit higher. El Scalzo asks his followers, like, let's make Tim Payne the main character. He kind of declares it, and it takes off, and people are making content about it. TikTokers are filming themselves watching, highlight reels of Tim Payne and like freaking out about it. People finding like Tim Payne football player cards and going like, yes, I got Tim Payne. And of course, a bunch of people went to a social media account, decided to follow it, comment it, everything, really hype it up. And at time of recording, there are 5.2 million people following Tim Payne's Instagram account, which is so crazy. That is like nearly the population of New Zealand, the entire country. And there's so many lovely comments, particularly from, people from around Central and South America, just sending the absolute loveliest messages of support. His last name also has so many opportunities for fun catchphrases and memes. So I've seen a lot of people commenting like, no pain, no gain, which I kind of love. Tim says he first noticed like something was going on, obviously because he suddenly had all of these new followers and notifications and things, but he kept being sent this video by El Scalzo, and so he went to watch it. It's all in Spanish, but luckily his partner speaks Spanish, so she was able to translate it for him. And he said definitely at the beginning he was a little bit shocked because he's not an internet person. He didn't really know how to process all of this attention suddenly being on him. From the interviews I watched of him, he kind of strikes me as maybe a little bit more introverted.
How are you dealing with all this fame and attention? Because it's pretty crazy, especially for a guy like you that is just a regular Kiwi guy, just a guy who loves football and everything.
I think that's probably the whole reason behind Valen's original post. It's just someone who's just trying to ply the trade and all the hard work and everything that's gone before it to lead to this point in time. But look, I don't change who I am. The Instagram is obviously a fantastic thing in terms of it's very positive and everything at the moment, but I'm still the same person. I still go out here and work as hard as I can every single time I step onto the football pitch, and I try and perform the best for our country.
So I think at the start it was definitely all incredibly overwhelming, but he did say he was trying to, have fun with it, enjoy the banter and things. And I do think he's since warmed up to this whole thing a little bit. He says he's really enjoyed the spotlight it's put on the New Zealand football team, and he hopes to make everyone really proud in the upcoming cup. And it is a little bit nice, New Zealand is known worldwide for a lot of its sports, but I would say football is definitely one where we're a little bit more low-key, and it's kind of cool to have like this much hype around our football team. Now, El Scalzo and Tim Payne actually got to meet earlier this week as well, and it's such a wholesome interaction. I'll insert a little clip.
My friend!
Mattell.
How are you?
I'm good, bro. Yourself? Lovely to meet you.
Sí, nice to meet you, bro.
¿Cómo estás?
Bien, ¿hablas español? Poquitino.
Little.
Estamos acá.
Not too much.
I'll translate it.
Very crazy, man. Thank you for everything.
And Tim also gifted him with a signed shirt and also put out a thank you video in Espanol, which I think is pretty cute as well. So yeah, it's been really fun to watch this, and I don't know, maybe it will give New Zealand some energy, some underdog energy going into this World Cup, and they can pull out some surprise games. As I mentioned, we're not necessarily globally renowned for our football skills, but I'll see if I can tune in for some of their games if they're not at an ungodly hour. And yeah, I'm looking forward to the cup. It's been a bit more low-key this year, dare I say. I haven't seen that much hype around it, and I kind of can't believe that everything's kicking off next week already, but I'll certainly be watching. I love the Football World Cup. It is my absolute favorite sporting event, even more so than the Rugby World Cup, which is a controversial opinion to have on this side of the globe, let me tell you. Let's talk about Hudson Williams. So the Canadian Screen Awards were held on May 31st, and Heated Rivalry had an incredible night. They took home most of the awards that they were nominated for. They also took home some of the really big hitting categories like Best Drama Series, Best Directing, and Best Writing for a Drama Series. And then Hudson Williams, of course, took home the award for Best Lead Performer in a Drama Series. And Francois Arnaud, who played Scott Hunter in the show, was also nominated. So it was just a really great night and recognition for the show, which is amazing because I truly do think it is some of the best acting that I have seen, particularly in romance, in the last couple of years, I would say. Every single episode was making me bawl my eyes out because the characters were just so fantastic at really expressing a lot of emotion into their performance. And I know most of the main storylines were centered around male characters, but I do also think that the women in the show were so fun to watch. They were all just so kind and just so loving, and I loved the way that they each expressed love a little bit differently as well, from like tough love to protective love to quiet love, just the whole spectrum, the different ways that you can love someone platonically. I just loved that the show explored this. It truly is such a good show, and if you've somehow made it this long without watching it, I highly implore you to check it out. Although I will say it is definitely explicit, so make sure that there are no kids around. Anyway, Hudson receives his award and obviously goes up to make his acceptance speech. And as we know, Hudson Williams is new to fame, of course, and probably one of the best things about him is the fact that he is absolutely not media trained whatsoever, and it's kind of just whatever he's thinking up here is bound to come out. Now, I will say he begins his speech fairly normal. He's thanking a bunch of people, the author, the show creator, the crew he worked with, the networks, his parents, his partner, all good and well, all very normal things. And probably just as his PR team, who are overworked, are breathing a sigh of relief, he ends his speech with a special shout out to his screen partner Connor Story, and I will insert a clip.
And if I could cut this award down the middle, I would, because if these gay yearning little bottom eyes didn't have a big sexy Russian to feast upon, my performance wouldn't be as good. So to the honorary Canadian Connor Story, I share this award with you.
These gay yearning little bottom eyes didn't have a big sexy Russian to feast upon, my performance wouldn't be as good. I mean, that is poetry. That we are hearing sentences that we have never heard before. I'm obsessed with him. I'm obsessed with the show. I'm obsessed with I'm obsessed with all of it. And I'm obsessed with this speech. And you know what? I'll say it. Sometimes acceptance speeches are a little bit boring. I thought this brought a nice fun flavor. I wish everyone was this honest when they were accepting their awards. Truly, I'm just so obsessed that he was saying this at one of the most heralded Canadian TV show awards. Good for him. And, a well-deserved win in my humble opinion. Okay, a couple of extra stories I wanted to mention. Noah Cyrus, which is Miley Cyrus's younger sister, and Frankie Jonas, the younger brother of the Jonas Brothers, got matching Ponyo tattoos. And Ponyo is, of course, the super cute Studio Ghibli film, which was released in Japan in 2008. For the English dubbed versions, Noah provided the voice of the main character Ponyo, and then Frankie voiced Sosuke, and the two of them got matching tattoos of their characters. And it's such a wholesome moment. I love their friendship, to be honest. I remember back in the day, there was all this speculation around whether they dated each other or not, because, it was the two younger siblings of super famous Disney pop stars, and then they did Ponyo together. And Noah has actually since revealed that when they were kids, she did used to have a big crush on Frankie. I don't know. It's super cute to me. I love that they've reconnected to get these tattoos, and I do really want to watch more Studio Ghibli movies. I really love the aesthetics of it. I love the art style. I know that the storylines are also incredibly profound and meaningful, and this is movies that can be enjoyed by adults just as much, if not more, than children. And we're about to get some deep cut Katya lore here. In fact, it is so deep cut that my boyfriend was watching me type out my notes for this, and he was like, I didn't know that's the reason why you don't really watch Studio Ghibli movies. You've never told me this. And I've been with him for 8 years. I swear to God, I've told him this story before. But anyway, basically, when I was 6 years old, my local library, which I loved going to because I was that very nerdy, bookish kid growing up. Anyway, they used to screen free movies for the kids in the weekend, and one weekend they screened Howl's Moving Castle, and I don't know why, but I was terrified. I think I might have cried. I definitely went home and was like shell shocked. I don't know. I can't tell you why. I don't know what it was. I don't know if it was just really intense or I couldn't tell you. The poor Liberian was probably like, geez, I'm just trying to like put something fun on for the weekend and this girl's just like crashing out. But I just got really scared, and so I avoided the Studio Ghibli films like the plague because they kind of just kept bringing me back to that traumatic experience. And I do really want to watch them because I know like in my heart of hearts that I will love the storylines. There are so many people who've told me like, you would love this movie, and the art style is fantastic. Like, I see a lot of screen grabs and stuff on Pinterest. I think it looks super cute. I obviously know they're incredible films, and I want to watch them. Maybe I'll try watch Ponyo or any of the other ones you recommend. I do also want to watch House Moving Castle again because the plot, like from what I remember, is intriguing. I don't know why specifically that one just really got to me, but I was a bit dramatic as a child as well, to be honest. Like this, I would love to say that this is the only kids movie that I like cried in and got traumatized by, but there were actually others, and I'd get like terrible nightmares from kids movies, which is so dramatic. Anywho, speaking of kids movies that didn't traumatize me, the Barbie movies. And this is the last good news story I want to cover because Mattell has been releasing some of the Barbie movies for free on YouTube, which is so fucking cool. I will say Bratz has been live streaming their old movies and TV shows for ages now. But you know, anyway, go Mattell. Thank you for following suit and finally keeping up. Some people have said that they're doing this in the lead up to the 25th anniversary of Barbie and the Nutcracker, and that they'll be kind of releasing a new movie every month leading up to the anniversary. Others are saying that they're actually releasing all of the movies, but it's just taking time. Some people are saying they're doing this because monetizing on YouTube, particularly for the classics, will probably get them more money than they would from people buying or renting the films. I don't know. I've tried to find a statement from the actual Barbie account or from Mattell, and I have been unsuccessful so far. But either way, this is something that's happening. I think it's really cool. The latest one that I saw them upload was Barbie and the 12 Dancing Princesses, which is of course such a classic. But as far as I can tell, they haven't uploaded that many classics yet, because I of course immediately went to watch Barbie Princess and the Pauper, which is like my absolute god tier favorite Barbie movie and was also my absolute favorite growing up. There are pictures out there somewhere of me at my 6th birthday, right before I was about to be traumatized by House Moving Castle. But I'm dressed in pink from like head to toe. I'm holding Princess and the Pauper on DVD and just grinning from ear to ear. Like, I literally look manic. You have never before seen a girl look so excited about a DVD. Like, I remember opening it and just being like, ah! Like, you know when you used to like scream when you got presents? Anyway, I was so excited. Before I owned it, every weekend at the Blockbusters, I would rent it out, even though I'd seen it the weekend before and the weekend before that. The DVD itself as well is literally unwatchable now because I absolutely thrashed it, got so scratched up just from being played over and over and over and over again. And yeah, unfortunately, Princess and the Pauper so far has not been uploaded to YouTube yet, but maybe it's coming soon. I hope so. Swan Lake would be another one that I would love to see. I had the Swan Lake dress for my Barbie doll growing up, and I remember thinking it was literally the prettiest thing I ever saw. So I'm hoping that those two at least will make their way up there soon. But for now, enjoying that. 12 Dancing Princesses is there. They've got a lot of the new Barbie content on there, which is also cool, but give me that really shitty like early 2000s animated style of Barbie movie where all their movements are like super rigid. Yeah, that is what I want to be seeing. Okay, let's round out with not my personal feud, because we are keeping things light this week. So instead, I'm going to be sharing some good news stories that have happened to me this last week. So the first one is that we actually won a voucher from our local cafe. This is so fun. Yeah, something that my local cafe does. They'll have like a little raffle and give away a coffee voucher every now and then, and it's $50. So, you know, it's good value. So that was super nice, and there's your sign to support local. The other good news thing that happened is I found the best music to listen to at the gym. If you are like me and you are someone who does like a lot of weight strength-based training, where you're doing like low and slow reps rather than like super pumpy movement, may I suggest to you listening to 80s music at the gym. And that is because like when you're trying to do like a really slow rep and you're in your ears listening to like some really pumpy D&B or something, it makes me want to go fast. Like it doesn't make me feel like I can go like slow and controlled because I'm trying to like, you know, hit the beat. 80s music on the other hand is pretty much all slower, and it's just so it's such a good tempo to listen to for when you're doing that type of exercise. It also gives me really bad main character energy. Like I literally feel like I am in the Rocky montage, or I feel like Billy in Stranger Things when he's like lifting weights with a cigarette in his mouth. Something about it just makes me feel like an 80s muse, and I'm just very like in my element. I love it. And then the other good news thing is that I'm finally getting out of my reading slump, which is so nice and just right on time for the cozy winter months. The other day, I gave myself the coziest reading setup. Like I had like one of those ambient videos playing on the projector. I had a blanket. I had a tea. I also recently found a super delicious caramel black tea. I'll put a photo up. And we'll try and remember to write in the description what it is because I can't think of it off the top of my head right now. But this tea, you can just get it from the supermarket and it just smells so phenomenal. I had some candles lit and it was just such a vibe. Really like romanticized reading for me, and I was like, hell yeah, I'm getting back into this. This is super fun. You know what? I also feel like Studio Ghibli movies will be such a vibe to watch on a projector. I just feel like they will suit that kind of ambience with like candles and stuff. So maybe this winter as well, I'll try and give myself some exposure therapy with Howl's Moving Castle. But that is all I have for this week's episode. I hope that you enjoyed some more lighthearted content. Next week we will be back with another feud, so be sure to tune in for that. In the meantime, don't forget to rate and review this podcast if you enjoy the show, and please feel free to leave a written review or comment. I love my words of affirmation, and you can connect with me on socials at Mood for Feud. I hope everyone is crushing their goals this week, and of course keeping out of trouble. Don't get into any feuds, and I will talk to you all next week. Bye.